Hello and welcome. I'm Geeta Mohan and you're watching World Today. Now, during Donald Trump's presidency last time around, one group that saw tremendous growth was billionaires. From tax reforms to deregulations, the Trump administration created conditions that led to a significant increase in wealth at the top. But how exactly did the number of billionaires grow during his time in office, and what factors drove this trend? Here's a closer look in this report.
As President-elect Donald Trump crisscrossed the road on his thank you tour, he took every opportunity to boast about his choices for his next administration. But what he did not mention was just how wealthy this group of leaders is going to be. Historians are already calling it the richest cabinet in US history. Not just that, the total wealth of Trump's top team is $340 billion, which is more than the GDP of 16 countries. Donald Trump, a man whose campaign proudly pledged to champion the working class, is now assembling a team made up of billionaires, Wall Street titans, and some of the wealthiest people on the planet. From Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest individual, to biotech moguls and former wrestling magnates, Trump's cabinet is about to make history for a reason few could have predicted. At the top of the list, of course, is Trump himself, said to be the wealthiest president in history with a fortune around $5.6 billion, according to Forbes. After years of attacking liberal billionaires like George Soros, Trump's incoming administration includes Elon Musk, the $344 billion Tesla CEO, who plans to take on a new role in Trump's Department of Government Efficiency. Let's break it down. The combined wealth of Trump's top team, as we saw, is staggering. $340 billion. That's right, more than entire nations' GDPs. And that's just the start. Let's take a closer look at the key players. Elon Musk, net worth $344 billion. The SpaceX and Tesla mogul will head the Department of Government Efficiency, a role designed to overhaul and streamline federal government operations. Musk has stated that he aims to cut $2 trillion from the national budget, a move that could be as controversial as it is ambitious. Next up, Vivek Ramaswamy, net worth $1 billion. The pharmaceutical entrepreneur and former presidential hopeful is tapped to join Musk in leading the Department of Government Efficiency, advocating for a smaller, more cost-effective government. Linda McMahon, net worth $3 billion. The co-founder of WWE and former Small Business Administration chief will take the reins at the Department of Education, a position that could potentially transform the way US handles education policy. Next up, Howard Lutnick, net worth $1.5 billion. The CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and a longtime Trump ally, Lutnick is nominated for Secretary of Commerce. Expect him to push hard for pro-business policies, including new tariffs and international trade strategies. Jared Isaacman, net worth $1.7 billion. The founder of the aerospace company that made headlines with private space flights, Isaacman is tapped to lead NASA and continue his collaboration with Musk's SpaceX. Each of these billionaires brings their own fortune and their own potential conflicts of interest to a Trump administration that already has critics questioning the concentration of wealth in Washington. Now, Trump's team is not just the richest in history. They're also positioned to influence major economic decisions, from trade policy to government spending cuts, with the potential to impact every American's daily life. Critics argue that these moves risk deepening the divide between the rich and everybody else, but Trump insists that his picks represent the best chance for reform. As we enter a new era, one thing is clear. The billionaire class is now running the show, and it might just be more than history that gets rewritten. Will these billionaires deliver on their promises to make the economy work for everyday Americans? Or will they reinforce the very system that made them so wealthy? Only time will tell. Bureau Report, India Today Global.
In Trump's world, loyalty does pay. President-elect Donald Trump is set to appoint two men with strong family ties to his daughters. Meet Charles Kushner, Ivanka Trump's father-in-law, who has been announced as the next ambassador to France, and Mossad Boulos, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, who will take on a key role as Middle East advisor. These appointments highlight Trump's ongoing strategy of prioritizing loyalty and familial connections over traditional political expertise.
Meet Ivanka Trump's father-in-law, Charles Kushner. And now meet Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, Massad Boulos. Say hello to President-elect Donald Trump's two newest appointees, two men whose sons are married to Trump's daughter, family connections, who will soon officially be part of Team Trump. What's clear here is a pattern of loyalty over expertise. Donald Trump's tendency to prioritize personal loyalty and familial connections in political appointments, a hallmark of his leadership style. Appointment Ivanka Trump's father-in-law as ambassador to France and Tiffany Trump's father-in-law as a Middle East advisor is in line with Trump's broader strategy in consolidating influence within a trusted inner circle. Boulos, a Lebanese-American billionaire, played a key role in the Trump's campaign outreach to Arab-American and Muslim-American communities, personally representing Trump in meetings and rallies in key states. Trump's appointment of his eldest daughter Ivanka's father-in-law is a little more contentious. Kushner, a wealthy real estate developer and philanthropist, is best known for his business acumen and a high-profile legal scandal that resulted in his conviction and imprisonment for tax evasion, witness tampering and illegal campaign contributions, a conviction for which Trump granted him a pardon in 2020. Nepotism aside, there is no doubt these controversial appointments will likely energize Trump's base, which admires his outsider approach and disdain for bureaucratic norms. It could raise questions about their impact on U.S. diplomacy, governance, and public trust in institutions. Bureau Report, India Today.
December 3rd was a black day in the history of South Korea when President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law on live TV. The opposition and citizens of the country came out onto the streets to protest against the law and forced the president to withdraw it within a few hours. This is a major setback for President Yoon and the ruling party, which has decided to stand against the impeachment process to bring down Yoon.
I declare martial law to protect the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces, to eradicate the despicable pro-North Korean anti-state forces that are plundering the freedom and happiness of our people, and to protect the free constitutional order.
비상계엄을 선포합니다.
The assassination of President Park Chung-hee in 1979, which led to a military coup in South Korea and gripped the country in a martial law, came back to haunt Koreans when the current president Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law on live TV. Yoon, however, was forced to lift the law a few hours after lawmakers unanimously voted to block the decree. A video of the spokesperson of main opposition Democratic Party grabbing a soldier's rifle during martial law has gone viral. Six opposition parties submitted a motion to impeach the president, but the ruling party said it will block the move. The South Korean police is investigating Yoon for his botched attempt to impose martial law. Opposition lawmakers require 8 ruling party lawmakers to vote with them for the impeachment bill to pass. There is also a growing chorus for President Yoon to step down.
They will try it again by addressing their shortcomings after they have failed once. When that time comes, we, the citizens, along with the Democratic Party of Korea and our lawmakers, will step forward and fight to ensure victory. We cannot accept a president who has declared war on the people. That is why I am here today in the belief that he must be punished and removed from office as soon as possible.
Though the U.S. has welcomed the withdrawal of martial law, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. was not aware of such a decision by one of its key allies.
Thank you very much. Thank you. No, that's correct. We were not aware. We're obviously watching this very carefully. Very good to see that the martial law edict was withdrawn by President Yoon after the Parliament voted against it. And for us, this is one of the most critical alliances that we have anywhere in the world. South Korean democracy is one of the most powerful stories anywhere in the world. It's very important that any disputes, differences, political differences be resolved peacefully and pursuant to the rule of law. That's what we're seeing now. That's what's so important to sustain.
The president faces several investigations following the country's Prosecutor General's order to prosecutors to directly investigate Yoon. Travel ban has been imposed on former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun for his involvement in the martial law order. South Korean presidents do not have immunity from the crime of insurrection, which can carry the death penalty. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
To discuss the situation in South Korea, I'm being joined in this exclusive conversation with retired Lieutenant General Chun In-bom from the Republic of Korea, that's South Korea. Thank you so much, Lieutenant General, sir, for speaking with us here. Let's begin with what has really unfolded. We've seen major series of events that have unfolded in South Korea for a country that has often been hailed as a democracy. It is surprising to see martial law being imposed, albeit it was withdrawn only a few hours later. But the fact is that a martial law was imposed and was announced. Your reaction to the unfolding of these events?
So I think for me as a Korean, it's a vindication of the democratic system that has evolved through the 80 years of our history as a republic. Although, unfortunately, my president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces somehow felt that he needed to declare martial law, in the end, when the National Assembly took a vote, they vetoed his decision, and that vetoed decision was accepted by the president, and the military obeyed throughout. And in fact, the military was not very proactive in executing some of the missions that were prescribed in the initial martial law decree.
Lieutenant General Boom, could you elaborate on what exactly transpired and why there was a need to call for or impose martial law in the first place by the president?
So, according to President Yoon, he had concluded that the National Assembly, which is predominantly occupied by the opposition, was unilaterally passing laws to include impeachment of important members of his government, and as a last straw, unilaterally attempting to pass next year's budget. He saw all of this and the possible linkage to elements from North Korea as a direct threat to Korean freedom and democracy. So he basically decided to declare martial law.
A key issue, sir, that's now being discussed is whether South Korea's sovereignty and territorial integrity were at risk. Do you really believe that the opposition parties might have been playing into the hands of North Korea here?
Well, it's always been an attempt by North Korea to influence South Korean politics, directly or indirectly. That's a given. But this was a failure of politicians and Korean politics. They were incapable of negotiating, and it became a zero-sum game. And it's very unfortunate that they had to pull in the military to try to resolve a political problem.
Lieutenant General Bohm, there has been a lot of internal political strife recently, with reports suggesting that the president ordered the arrests of both the leaders of the ruling party, Han Koo, and the leader of the main opposition party. How do you view these developments, especially in light of your earlier comments on the role of the opposition leaders and their potential links and connections with North Korea?
So it's very difficult for me to understand why the president gave such orders. when he should have known that it was really on the brink of being illegal. And so this is a matter to be decided in the near future as the truth and more details come out. And it's so far, it's very unfortunate that he gave those directions. Now, it's still unclear as to if he did issue a directive to arrest the ruling party leader, Mr. Han. The president has denied that, but it seems he did imply, or the Minister of Defense directed that the head of the opposition was to be apprehended.
Lieutenant General Chan In-boom, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today. To watch the entire interview, log on to India Today Global's YouTube channel, and you can watch the whole interview where the Lieutenant General gives us entire perspective on South Korea and North Korea. Now, war is always devastating, but in Gaza, the situation is becoming even more harrowing. New reports suggest that Israeli forces are deploying drones that emit disturbing sounds, drawing Palestinians into exposed areas where they become vulnerable targets. These drones are not merely weapons of destruction, they are psychological instruments in a conflict already marked by unspeakable pain. With thousands dead and millions displaced, we ask, how far can military tactics go before they cross the line into war crimes? My colleague Shashank Mattu decodes the story for you.
In the chaos of war, survival often hinges on instinct. But what happens when those instincts, our deepest, most human urges, are turned against us? In Gaza, a horrifying tactic has emerged. Imagine hearing the cries of a baby, the screams of a woman, or a desperate plea for help in the dead of night. You rush outside, heart pounding, ready to save a life, only to realize it's a trap set by a drone. It's the grim reality unfolding in one of the most battered regions on earth. Reports from Gaza reveal that Israeli forces are deploying quadcopter drones armed with more than just weapons. These machines are broadcasting the sounds of crying babies, distressed women, and even threats, all designed to lure Palestinians out of their homes into open areas where they can be targeted. Human rights activists are sharing chilling stories of such incidents. In mid-April, reports of bizarre sounds like babies crying, women screaming began to surface from a Gaza camp. Now these drones are far from ordinary. Remote-controlled, quadcopters have become a sinister tool of war in Gaza. Since hostilities escalated on October 7, these drones have been deployed for surveillance, targeting individuals and dispersing crowds. And the psychological impact is profound. Residents describe hearing recordings of children crying, sounds of "I want my mother," and chilling warnings in Hebrew and Arabic, declaring "you will die if you resist." But it doesn't stop there. Witnesses have reported drones opening fire on civilians during food distributions, playing sounds of tank movements, and even broadcasting local vendor calls to create confusion. All of this is happening against the backdrop of an unimaginable humanitarian crisis. Gaza's health ministry reports nearly 45,000 deaths. Millions are displaced. Hospitals, schools, and homes lie in ruins. Civilians are facing severe shortages of food, water, and medical supplies. Disease is spreading rapidly in overcrowded shelters, making survival itself a daily battle. As the world watches in horror, urgent questions remain unanswered. Is this a war on Hamas, or has it become a war on humanity itself? How far can psychological tactics go before they cross the line from strategy to atrocity?
Justice on trial, quite literally so. The International Criminal Court, once a beacon of accountability for war crimes and atrocities, now finds itself under the fire from two of the world's most powerful nations. From arrest warrants for leaders like Vladimir Putin to sanctions, threats from Washington, D.C., the ICC's fight for justice is shaping into a battle for its very survival. Here is a full report.
International Criminal Court, established in 2002 as the world's permanent tribunal for processing war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and the crime of aggression. This court now finds itself under unprecedented pressure. The institution, designed as a beacon of justice, is facing significant threats from two of the world's most powerful nations, the United States and Russia.
The court has been subjected to attacks seeking to undermine its legitimacy and ability to administer justice and realize international law and fundamental rights by coercive measures, threats, pressure, and acts of sabotage.
Akane's words were a direct response to the growing opposition the ICC faces from both Washington and Moscow, whose officials have become increasingly vocal in their opposition to the court's actions. In the past year, the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Russian President Vladimir Putin in connection with the war in Ukraine, and for Israeli officials, namely Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense chief, Yoav Gallant, over their actions in Gaza. These warrants have ignited fierce backlash from both Russia and the United States. Russia, angered by the indictment of its leaders, responded by issuing an arrest warrant for ICC prosecutor Karim Khan. Meanwhile, the United States, which is not a member of the ICC, has called the court's actions politically motivated.
The ICC, in my opinion, is a rogue organization that's obliterated their charter under the Rome Statute, that has their goal the marginalization of the Jewish state. I reject the ruling of the International Court of Justice. I reject the arrest warrants of the ICC.
In a response to the ICC's investigation into Israeli officials, U.S. lawmakers passed bills threatening sanctions against the court.
I promise you that we will do all we can, Mr. Prime Minister, to hold the ICC account for this outrage against the people of Israel. A slap in the face to your judiciary. To International Court of Justice, you're a joke. The head judge of the ICJ is a raving anti-Semite.
Senator Graham's words reflected the hostility growing in Washington, as the ICC's pursuit of justice increasingly collided with political and military interests.
I've said it before, looking at the globe, we do see a pandemic of inhumanity. Look at Ukraine, look at Palestine, look at Darfur, look at so many other parts of the world where the office and the court are trying to vindicate the promise of the Rome Statute. We see seemingly a world in which people feel their lives don't matter.
The ICC relies on member states to execute arrest warrants, with major global powers like the US and Russia refusing to cooperate and Israel openly rejecting the court's authority. The ICC's reach is severely limited. Its jurisdiction, however, is clear in territories like Gaza and the West Bank, where it has the legal backing of the state of Palestine. Despite the threats, the ICC remains determined. It stands as the world's last resort for justice when national courts fail or are unwilling to act. With 124 member states behind it, the court continues its mission, though its future remains uncertain. The fight for the survival of the ICC is not just a legal battle. In the global struggle, every attack on the ICC is an attack on justice itself. The ICC stands at a pivotal crossroads. With powerful adversaries threatening its existence, its resolve will be tested. Bureau Report, India Today Global.